Hello, true duelists. My name's Craig Fee, and here's what's made news this week. The next core set is here, and it's not entirely forgettable. The next YCS and the first one of the year is just a week away, which means we almost have something to talk about. Funko Pop, Funko Pop, Funko Pop, consume, consume, consume! Welcome to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Update. It's a big day for everyone ever, with the next core set in the wonderful game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Releasing for all of the TCG to mostly ignore. Supreme Darkness brings a number of cards that are both real and in fact playable at the same time. The best named, best looking, and arguably worst performing Molcharmy in Meowls is set to shock to no one the fact that it's the most expensive card. Didn't save that sentence, didn't I? There's also the big new Link 4, whose name I will not be saying, that seems to be worth some amount of money to those interested in paying for it. But beyond those, there aren't really a lot of new and interesting cards that are exciting to the player base, instead offering support for the likes of Gladiator Beast and Speedroids. The lack of excitement for the set to the player base was realized when they wanted to win at the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And the support of the set was for Gladiator Beast and Speedroids. That'll do it. And doing their best to remain consistently inconsistent, Konami has also notably updated the text for Primite Dragon Ether Barrel, switching the effect on the card database to be the same as the OCGs, meaning in the week since last week's update where I talked about how it was wrong, they've switched it to now be right, which just means that the physical card is wrong, which is really, really funny on some level. All you have to do is convince your opponent to simply ignore the words on the card at which they are playing, and everything will go fine. There's an easy joke here about Yu-Gi-Oh! Players not reading, but I'm going to be making enough low-hanging fruit jokes in the future that I will abstain this one time. The card coming back in each standby phase would have been notable for turning on Primate Drill Beam, which is a quick play spell that can negate and banish a card on the field, but will require you to reveal a Primate to use it, which would have made Primate playable in some capacity, which is truly far too much for this game to have. Which is a joke I make, ignoring the fact that Blue Eyes will be coming out as a deck in February, and I understand that that deck will be meta, but it's funnier to say Primate bad. Do you get it? Do you understand the joke? Deck bad. Please laugh. This doesn't seem to be a game-breaking set by any means, which hopefully means that cards can be cheap for those interested in playing them. Or maybe that 10-Yi tuner that's a secret rare that helps Sword Soul will forever be overvalued, because there's nothing in this set to have any value otherwise besides it and a Molcharmy and a Link 4. So, who knows? Either way, Sword Soul players stay losing. Haha, get it? Deck bad. Oh, anyways, in the meantime, you'll almost certainly see Meowls popping up at YCS's, which is something of note and a great little segue into the next segment. Because YCS Orlando is coming up next weekend on February 1st and 2nd, the first premier event of 2025 and one taking place in the armpit of the United States, because that is how much Konami respects you. Don't you worry, European players, you haven't been left out this time, to the shock of anyone who played this game in 2024, as YCS Birmingham will be the following weekend, taking place in Birmingham, England of all places. Why? Why would you do that? Well, it's because Konami is of course taking the chance to send duelists across the TCG to regions that no one would willingly go to in the name of finding it funny for themselves, probably. Because I'm not really sure that we could send anyone anywhere else that's worse than Orlando and Birmingham. People may say Gary, Indiana could be a worse choice, but then I would have to listen to people from Indiana, at which point I would lose any respect from anyone with half a brain cell. Still, Gatorland is home to our first look at the new meta at a YCS level, and we'll cover that in 2 weeks' time, because next week's update will be the day before the YCS, meaning I won't talk about it for another 14 days, and 5 days after it's already done and dusted. But I'm telling you that 2 weeks in advance, because Dry January was actually a term made to describe this channel, or more accurately, news in the month of Yu-Gi-Oh! Aside, of course, from blatant clickbaiting of discussions in the community, or as the Termly Online would refer to it as, drama. And speaking of that drama, I do want to take time to briefly discuss last week's update, wherein I added to the React slop of discussion-style videos of talking about someone else's video. In the video, I egregiously clickbaited Joshua Schmidt, and the comments had varying degrees of conversation about mid-core players and where they fit into the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Among the comments were some calling anyone not playing competitive to be worthless and irrelevant, and others calling anyone who competes in any capacity a virgin loser. And this may strike some viewers as harsh, but I believe both those kinds of people should die. And that's all I have to say about last week's video. And exciting news for fans of merchandise. A new Funko Pop is dropped. That's right, Black Rose Dragon gets the Funko treatment just in time for some economic turmoil. Just for a little bit of economic uncertainty, get me that Funko Pop Dragon. If I've got hard-earned dollars, it's going to the Funko Pop. I'm here to buy the thing. This is not an ad, this is an order. And more importantly than that, this is a fucking threat. Buy the Funko Pop. Consume and buy the Funko Pop. Buy the product now. Buy the fucking Funko Pop, you stupid piece of... And so that wraps it up for this week's riveting and action-packed update. As always, I've been your host, Big Man himself. There he is. Stay tuned for next week's update, where I'll not only talk about things, but also other things as well. Not only will subscribing impress your smoking Italian wife, but you'll immediately become a true duelist, and at some point you might hear me explain to you why you would impress your smoking Italian wife. It's great because the more people I get that follow my videos, the less people understand it. But it's okay, we're all just gonna gaslight each other into thinking it makes sense. Because what else do you do as the newsman, media man, Yu-Gi-Oh! man. Okay, what a great end of the sentence. Bye, see you next week.